Hi there, my name is Laura Cresson. I went to Japan in 2010-2011. I am a member of Rotex and served as a Rotex officer for 2 years. I've also been serving on the Outbound Orientation Committee for about 7 years, previously as one of the co-presidents. In my professional life, I've worked in education as a web developer, and I'm currently a nail technician. I've also been trained in restorative justice through Restorative Justice Community Action and as a racial justice facilitator through the YWCA. So it is fair to say that I've seen my fair amount of conflict and conflict resolution, which is why I'm here today to talk to you about some of the conflict you might face while you're abroad and how you can actually build better relationships while facing that conflict. First off, personal and cultural differences can sometimes naturally create conflict. This is just a part of life. But I want to give you some tools today to make sure that that conflict does not and in any way derail your exchange or create a huge negative impact on your exchange. First off, there is a tool that you can use to help kind of prevent conflict, especially when it comes to cultural conflict. And it's an acronym we created called WALL, which stands for Watch, Ask, Listen, and Learn. We actually created a handout for WALL, which is right here. So let's walk through it all together. First, there is watch, to observe how people behave and act around you, whether it's your classmates, if you have host siblings, host parents, Rotarians, other citizens in your host country. How are they acting? How are they doing things? And how can you integrate some of those behaviors into your own life? Number 2, ask. There is no stupid question. We don't expect you to know all the answers. So using not only these orientations, but also your Rotary network, Rotex, country officers to ask questions. We're all here to help you have a successful exchange. And then there's listening, trying to understand the cultural differences, different people's perspectives and points of view. And then there's learn. We definitely don't expect you to be perfect at everything and have no cultural mishaps. That's just part of being an exchange student, but learn from those opportunities and use them as a stepping stone to reach multiculturalism. Now, let's say you've used all the WALL techniques, but you still experience some kind of conflict. While you're abroad, there can really be 2 types of conflict, either personal or cultural. So with personal, it can be with your host family, either them saying you're not helping out at home or having disagreements about house rules. Maybe it's a Rotarian or teacher saying you're not learning the language fast enough. Or it can be cultural, people saying you're not doing things the right way, expectations on how you should behave based on your gender, race, ethnicity, nationality, or being expected to explain or defend US actions or policies. Now, when you're experiencing these 2 types of conflicts, there are a couple different ways you can deal with them. But in order to figure out the way that's best for you, you're going to have to ask yourself a couple questions. First off, how does this conflict make you feel and how extreme are those feelings? Is it just a little bit discomfort or is the feeling really strong? How often is it happening? Is it a once and never again, or is it every week? Is it getting in the way of your physical and emotional well-being? This is incredibly important. We want to make sure that you are doing physically and emotionally well in your exchange. Is the conflict having a large negative impact on the relationship involved? And how important is that relationship to you? Is this a complete stranger or a host family or teacher, someone who's more involved in your daily life? Now, as you've gone through these questions, maybe you have some idea of how to deal with the conflict. And really, there's 3 ways that you could deal with it. There is first to conform. Let's say the conflict is you not doing things the right way. but you say, hey, I'm an exchange student when in Rome, right? So you conform to the idea that's been set upon you. And then maybe there's ignore. If people have expectations maybe of who you are, what you do as an American, you can ignore those expectations and even in some cases prove them wrong so that other people also reach a better cultural understanding. And then there's confront. If some of these questions you had answers like, yes, this is happening a lot. It's not good for my physical, emotional well-being. This relationship is really important to me and it is having a negative impact, then this might be a situation where you need to face the conflict head on. Now, if you've decided to face the conflict, there's a great tool for you called nonviolent communication. Now, there's a whole book written about it, but we've created a little easy handout for you that might make it a little bit easier. And nonviolent communication has 4 steps: to state what you've observed, how those events made you feel, what you need, and the request of the other person. So first, the observation. What happened in the situation? And make sure this is really objective. So what could a recording device have picked up? What could be seen on camera? What could another person also have observed in that situation? Just try to make it as objective as possible. Then there's your feelings about the situation. How did they make you feel? Sad, upset? On the second page, we actually have a list of words that are good to describe in this situation and words to avoid. Now, the words on the avoid list are really feeling words that are associated with an action. So for example, let's say neglected. When you say that you feel neglected, to the other person, that might communicate to them that you're saying they purposely neglected to you. And so instead of listening to you and wanting to reach a better understanding, they might get defensive and shut the conversation down, which is definitely not what you want. Then there's your needs, values desired that are associated with the feelings, and make sure that this is something that is very relatable. So for example, feeling respected, having bodily autonomy. As you're thinking about the need that you want to state, make sure that the other person could also say, hey, that's something that I need to. And then there's your request, and make sure this is a request and not a demand, because you want to create an opportunity for communication and conversation, and might have to make a compromise with each other, which can happen if you have an ask instead of a demand. Now, let's say you've gone through all these steps of nonviolent communication and unfortunately it didn't work out. We just want you to remember that you're not alone, and Rotary creates a great network for you to utilize in these situations. So in your Rotary network, there's the people here for you in the US, and there's the people that are going to be there for you when you're abroad. So in the US, there's your country officers, the district chair, ROTECs. When you're abroad, there's the youth exchange officer, counselor, host families, district contacts, and again, ROTECs. Now, for some of you who might be new to Rotary and to North Star Youth Exchange, don't worry if you don't understand what a lot of these positions are or mean. We made a whole handout about leveraging your Rotary network. It goes into examples of how to leverage the network, who's involved in the network, what they do, who do you contact for what. And it even has a contact sheet down at the end to write down everyone's name, email, phone number. So it's a document that you can print out, have on hand in case a conflict arises. Because ultimately, everyone in this network, we want you to have a good, successful, healthy exchange. And that's why we're here, for you, to help support you. And remember that conflict is totally normal and can even be used to help build better relationships, understanding, and goodwill. So some of these skills and tools I've taught you today, you can start practicing these now. If in the upcoming months you have a conflict with your parents, classmates, teacher, pull out these questions, pull up WALL, pull up the nonviolent communication, and start practicing this now, because good communication, like any other skill, gets better with practice. So I hope that this has been helpful for you today. It's another good tool in your toolbox, and hopefully I'll see all your faces at the third orientation. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.